Michael. Michael, can I make you a moderator? So Michael, I just made you a moderator to do whatever you want. What I prefer is if people are on here being nasty, that you don't block them, you just maybe mute them, because maybe this is a message they need to hear. And then real quick, is the music loud? Can you hear it at all? I don't want it to like overpower. So let me know, and let me know how everybody's doing tonight. And also, if you would like, in the comments, you don't have to, if you don't want, other people to know, if you are here because you have borderline, or because you are living with someone or in a relationship with one, or, okay, thank you, Michael. If you're here, let me know why you're here. Are you here just to learn, or for yourself, or living with someone with borderline is very difficult, so that would be another really good reason to be here. Ask my partner. One day we'll speak together on it, because his point of view of being with me, who has had severe borderline, has not been easy for him. Okay, so comments are not there. Okay, so I want to make sure that everybody that wanted to be here is here. Are you here, Mercy? Okay, so I was talking to my partner earlier. I was getting a little bit nervous because this is my first planned event. I've done a lot of lives that are just, fight or flight. I'm just talking and sharing, and this is more planned. And it's something that I've not been able to do before, because my feet have not been on the ground, and they are now. So it's telling me I have an unstable connection, which is really strange. Please let me know if I freeze or anything happens. And I'll start. This may be, what I was trying to say is this may be a part 1 and a part 2 type thing, so that it doesn't go too long, because there is a lot to this. And if you have BPD, you know how much there is to this. So borderline personality, what is it? What is it? It is. I've got my notes here, and I need to, okay, I'm going to take a moment and gather myself, because I want to get this message out to you in the best way possible, because it truly has saved my life, and I mean that literally saved my life. I'm alive and in front of you today because I had to tackle this borderline personality disorder that I've had my whole life, my whole remembered life. So it is a mood disorder. It is a mental disorder. It is a severe health condition that influences the way people see themselves, and how they interact with the world around them. And that may not seem like much, but I'm doing okay. I'm nervous, but I'm here to share this message, and I'm gonna do it. Thank you for asking. And like I said, feel free in the comments to let me know if you're here because you suffer from BPD, or with someone who has BPD, which is very difficult in itself. I have a lot to share, because I feel that I don't know if I should say I've conquered it, but I have learned to to find it, to see it, to be aware of it when it appears, and then I'm able to squash it. And that is such a big accomplishment because it's ruined so much of my life. It really has. And I'm not going to dwell on that because I'm here today where I want to be, and I'm happy today. So all of the trauma from before, that a lot was caused from borderline, it doesn't exist anymore. Because right now we're all here together in this moment. It's the only moment that we have. We don't have the future. We don't have the past. We have right now. And that always helps to ground me, to think that way. And before I delved into this journey of figuring out my BPD, I couldn't have even sat in that thought at all. That wouldn't have been a real thought to me because my whole life existed in the past. Every day I focused on all of the past trauma and what was going to happen that was going to be worse in the future. Because if you've looked or watched any of my story, my trauma got worse and worse and worse and worse up until 4 months ago when I lost my daughter, my oldest, my third child. She passed away January 19th. And I was in the middle of this journey when she passed away. So right now, that doesn't exist. This exists. And I'm grateful for this moment. And I've been looking forward to this moment. So I can clear my mind, take a few deep breaths, and then I'm going to share with you what has been working for me. And changing not only my life, but my 7-year-olds and my 25-year-old. And the people that love me and the people that I love. Because of the way I behave, my behaviors affects them. Especially my 7-year-old and my partner, in a big way. And so helping your borderline helps everyone around you. Everyone you love. I'm going to invite a couple of people because I know they wanted me to let them know. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start. So borderline personality disorder, what is it? It's a severe mental health condition that influences the way people see themselves and how they interact with the world around them. BPD, borderline personality disorder, is a long-term condition. There is treatment, but there's no medication, and doctors do treat this with medication, but since there are so many symptoms to borderline personality disorder, what they do is they treat some of the symptoms, but there's no BPD medication. So I don't take any medication for borderline. I take medication to sleep and for my panic disorder. My borderline is strictly internal, working on myself, and all those kinds of things. The most, in my opinion, valued and worthy treatment for BPD is DBT. And DBT is a dialectical behavioral therapy. And I took that class when I was in rehab about 11 years ago. And then I taught DBT when I worked at the same drug and alcohol facility that I was in for help for myself. So all of this time that I was taking DBT and teaching DBT, I was in fight or flight. My identity was borderline. That might as well have been my name, borderline personality disorder, because I didn't have an identity. I have never met Missy until a few months ago. And I always get emotional on these, but that statement is huge. I never met Missy until a few months ago. And unfortunately, it was after my daughter died. She knew who I was, though, and she helped me with this. She did a lot of schooling on mental disorders, and she would point things out to me and help me with it. And so I have that to be grateful for. And gratitude always brings me back around. So even though she's not here to see, she knows. And she helped me. So what is DBT? It's dialectical behavioral therapy. Like I said, I've taken the class and I've taught the class. And as funny as that sounds, I was teaching the class while I had no idea what was going on. I was so confused from having BPD. My entire remembered life, I've had borderline. I was diagnosed with it 12 years ago and never gave it another thought until I had to. Until the generational trauma in my family got so severe. And I was getting ready to lose my partner, my stability, and everything because of my BPD, and sabotaging everything because I have so much fear of rejection. And fear of rejection leads me into talking about the symptoms. And this is why BPD is so hard to diagnose, and so many people have it that don't even know it, because these symptoms, a lot of them, everybody has. But when you have them stemming from BPD, they are so intense, they are so magnified, they're unbearable. You know, I didn't want to live in this body. Like my skin would crawl. I would want to just crawl out of my skin because my symptoms were so intense. So they come in 3 different categories. There's behavioral symptoms, mood symptoms, and psychological symptoms. The behavioral symptoms can be antisocial behavior, compulsive behavior, hostility, irritability, risk-taking behaviors, self-destruction, self-harm, social isolation, and lack of restraint. I mean, that can sound like a lot of people, right? But imagine those things magnified 1,000,000 times and as a constant, like there's no break from it. I got to that point to where there was nothing existing in my life except borderline. The psychological symptoms are depression, distorted self-image, grandiosity, narcissism, and suicidal ideation. The mood symptoms are anger, anxiety, general discontent, guilt, shame, loneliness, mood swings, and sadness. So as I said before, that can really, really describe a lot of people. At least a lot of them can. I mean, we all get irritated. We all have general discontent at some point in our lives. For me, my general discontent was so severe, I disassociated completely from reality at some point in my life, and I never came back. I never came back. I didn't have an identity, and I'm going to explain to you what that really looks like in my personal experience with borderline. It wasn't just, I don't really know who I am, I don't really know what I want, I always knew what I wanted. I always knew what I felt, because my emotions were intensified by 300,000 million bazillion, but I didn't know who I was. Distorted self-image for me meant I went my whole life until a few months ago not being able to picture my face at all. I would lay in bed and close my eyes and try to picture what my face looked like, and I couldn't. And it would scare me. And this is from a child on. Just being older, I recognize, like, this is happening. Like, most people can picture themselves. Like, why can't I see what I physically look like? And it really bothered me. And I couldn't. And it got to the point to where at some point, and I don't know when, I started building these characters in my mind. So that, like, if I was having a conversation with my partner about something we did last week and that was fun or whatever, I'm picturing him, but I'm this character that I built. And there were several different characters in my mind because I didn't know how to picture myself. Someone had told me, get an actual photograph and picture that. And what my brain would do is picture the whole photograph, but my face would be blurred out. And that's an identity crisis, that in the physical sense. And in the mental and emotional sense, it's even more. It's a scary way to live, and I'm a mother, and so when I was younger, going off of these symptoms, the bad negative relationships is a really big one. People with BPD just really suffer in relationships. We're not good at them. So much that I took 6 years off of my life and isolated 100%. I did work and I took care of Jill, and that is all I did. I didn't hang out with my friends. I didn't date. I didn't have any partners. I didn't sleep with anybody. I didn't anything. Complete and utter isolation. And that was my goal for the rest of my life, because my previous relationships hurt so bad. I was unwilling to risk that kind of pain again. So I isolated for 6 years, and I mean hardcore isolation. Just work and my child. That's it. And I was losing my mind, and I didn't know it. I was in fight or flight. For those of you who don't know my backstory, I believe I got borderline from adverse childhood trauma. I don't know. I don't think I was born with it. There's no other BPD in my family. My trauma started very young, and my first breakup, my first heartbreak as a child, 12 years old, I ate 2 whole bottles of pills and tried to kill myself. That's not a normal reaction to heartbreak. I have been out of rehab for 10 years, Dan. I thank you for asking. It saved my life. It went well. And that is a story for another time, but it went really well. I lived there for a little over 8 months and got off of heroin. So all of this work I'm doing around my BPD is sober and, emotional. We don't have normal reactions to emotional things. Like, something exciting happens and, people are excited. We're like off the chain, crying and shaking, and we have overly emotional stimulation all the time, which is exhausting. But I kind of lost my thought, my what I was saying now. Sorry. Okay, so I don't think I was born with it, because nobody in my family has it. I think it came from trauma. And my trauma started very young because I was so confused as a child. I was raised Christian and I didn't understand the rules. I couldn't go stay the night with friends, all the things. And I could if they were from the church, but I couldn't if they weren't. And so I was left out of a lot of things. And I didn't understand that, like in my mind, they were good people and they were my friends, and so I became the rebellious child. And in my mind, I was not rebellious. I was trying to figure things out because I was so goddamn confused. Even if I would get in trouble, I wouldn't know why. I wouldn't understand what I did. I just was confused all the time. So I did. I started going out and hanging out with friends and sneaking out because I wasn't allowed to do anything. And I started being this yes girl from age 11 on. This guy wants to have sex with me. Yes, that means he loves me. That makes me feel good because I don't know who the fuck I am, but he must see something good in me. So I'm gonna go over here with him, and that lasted damn near my whole life until I started isolating for that 6 years, which was 2 years ago. So 8 years ago, up until 8 years ago, I was a yes person because I didn't have any identity, which means I didn't have any thought of thought of myself, like thought of, no, I have these standards. I am Missy. This is the way I feel about things. I can say no. I can say yes. I can choose. I didn't have an identity. In my mind, I wasn't real, even. If you want to take it that far, that's as serious as it is. I didn't exist. I didn't know who I was. From my looks, to my heart, to my mind, to my emotions, to my body that I felt uncomfortable in. Complete identity crisis for over 35 years. So I got into a lot of trouble. I started, people would give me drugs so they could sleep with me. I would take the drugs. I would sleep with them. I did not like the sex. It did not feel good. I was too young. But I liked that it made me think that they liked me. And so therefore I must be something good, right? Because they all wanted me. Because I was so young, it was very distorted. The most characterizing traits of borderline personality disorder out of all of them is persistently unstable relationships and distorted self-image. And that is just my truth. And that is a fact. That is like from statistics. And that is so true to me. I sabotaged the 2 good relationships I could have had because we have such fear of rejection that we're gonna fuck it up ourselves, right? Because that's easier than having them tell us they don't want us anymore. Because when that happens, it's a very dangerous place to be for people with BPD. When I got my first boyfriend after my divorce, he was a great guy. He loved my kids. I started mimicking him. I started listening to the same music he listened to. I started smoking the same type of cigarettes he smoked. I started dressing like him. I started talking like him. And it took me, years to realize I did that because I didn't have my own identity. So I started taking on other people's. And so when I got clingy and needy, because it felt good to have that identity, even though it wasn't mine, I started pushing them away because I'd be calling them all the time. I wanted them to be around me all the time because I had an identity when I was with them, even though it was theirs. It was better than not having one. So I would see them starting to pull away from me. And then here comes that racing heart, that racing mind. They're going to leave me. They're going to leave me, and I'm going to feel pain. People with BPD feel pain on a level different than other people. Pain is deep and so fucking painful for us, whether physical pain or emotional pain. We dread it with every fiber of our being, so much that I would do things like isolate so that nobody could hurt me. Nobody could touch me. Nobody could get close enough to cause harm or to even hurt my feelings. That's how much I protected my soul, that I didn't know what it was, but I protected it because pain is all I knew and I couldn't take anymore. I can't tell you how many suicide attempts I've had in my life, but it's so many. And some, I'm pretty lucky that I'm still here. But so I could tell that they would start pulling away from me, and then here comes the panic, and here comes the manipulation. So when we say people with borderline are manipulative, it's not in a way of harming the other person. It's in the way of saving yourself. Don't leave me because I don't know who I am. I'm scared. I'm alone. Please don't leave me. I won't have an identity anymore. So eventually, after enough bullshit from me cutting myself in front of him and his friends, me crying, me telling him I'm going to kill myself, manipulation. But really it was desperation. Complete and utter desperation to have someone help me learn how to be a person, how to have an identity, how to know what the fuck is going on and who I am. Because without that person by my side, I was just spinning and lost completely. So when that first boyfriend left me finally. He just couldn't take it anymore. You know, I was insane to him, you know, and I didn't understand what was going on. I couldn't say, well, I have borderline, you know, this is what's going on, because I didn't know at the time. But when he left, I had a job. I had had a job for a long time, consistent. I literally just didn't go to work the next day. I didn't call in. I didn't quit. I just stopped going. I laid in bed. I carved my body up. I tried to kill myself. I cried, did drugs, drank, all the things, anything to not sit in the feeling of pain and emptiness, complete and utter emptiness. Because if you don't know yourself, if you don't even know what you are, there's nothing in there, you know, and I couldn't find it. And I didn't know I had borderline, so I didn't know what the fuck was wrong with me. But I knew something was wrong with me. The only truths I knew throughout my life is I was bad. Something was very wrong with me. People left me. People hurt me. People wanted to hurt me physically. I must be such a horrible entity, a horrible being, that people left me and hurt me. So that was my identity, really, was this horrible, horrible human that people couldn't stand to be around so much that some of them beat my ass off, you know, my abusers, you know, and that was my idea. That became who I was. A complete victim, not understanding what I did wrong, but knowing that everyone in my life left me. And it was extremely painful. So I did become manipulative, and in the time, I don't think I could call it that, because it was such desperation. I can feel it now, thinking about it. The desperation to not be left alone with my borderline and not knowing who I am, where I'm at, what's going on, or what anything is, really. So that's where the manipulation comes in for me. That's how I understand it. That's my experience. If this sentence doesn't tell you how hard borderline is, nothing will. I was reading online. I was doing some research today, and there's a doctor. His name's Dr. Black, and he wrote that with his studies, and you know, he treats people with borderline. 47% of psychiatrists and psychologists, social workers and nurses and residents prefer to avoid treating BPD clients as patients. Like, they won't even take BPD people. 47%, that is half. Nearly half of the physicians and psychiatrists that treat mental disorders refuse borderline personality disorder. Thank you, Mikey. Hey, cats. You have it too, then you get it. I don't know if there's different severity levels or not. I know mine has been, it's just been horrifying. But yeah, when I read that nearly 50% of psychiatrists won't even take on BPD clients, like, that says a lot. That says a lot, because it's so difficult. It's because I do too, cats. You know, I do too. But today, I can cry and not have it take me away. You know, I can grieve for my kids. I can grieve for Colette. And I can feel myself becoming ungrounded, you know, coming into fight or flight. But then now I have the ability to recognize it. So I'm grieving, I'm sad, my emotions are starting to get out of control, and I come back to this gratitude, this place of I'm only in the moment, and I'm okay, and it's okay to grieve. It doesn't have to mean that I'm falling back into BPD. It doesn't have to mean that I'm overreacting or I'm crazy or I'm all these horrible things that I've only identified with my whole life. It means I'm grieving for my baby. And I take the time to grieve, and then I pick myself back up. And that's the difference between borderline Missy before, or borderline person without an identity before, and Missy. So really, there's no medication, like I said, for borderline. The effective known treatments are the DBT, the dialectical behavioral therapy, diet change, understanding your BPD, and rest. That's what you get to work with. There are doctors out there. I have a friend who has borderline, and she's on like 6 different medications. They're treating the racing mind part. She's, Adderall. They're giving her like Xanax for the calming. I mean, they're treating all the different symptoms with like 6 different medications. And in my opinion, that's scary. But, that's what 50% of doctors don't want to deal with it. So they're going to throw medicine at you. So what really, to kind of make this not go on forever, the reason what made me dig down deep and figure this shit out was, number one, all the trauma in my life that affects my family, the 3 children that I've buried, my fear of burying another one because I don't have it together, and I'm not there and I'm not present to help enough. And then Brandon, my partner. So after, don't be sorry. The comments go so fast. It's hard for me to know. Like, I'm sorry. I'm just not seeing all of them. So it is from abuse. It is from trauma, but it also can be genetics. And it can also be a brain, not injury, but a brain, what'd they call it? Just like a brain a chemical imbalance. So it can be from trauma, it can be from genetics, and it can be from an actual abnormality in your brain. So there are 3 causes of it. Mine, I'm just guessing based on my life, my history, what I remember, all the things, that it's from trauma for me. So I isolated, and I had Jill, my daughter. She's 7 years old, and because of the loss of my 2 children before Jill, when I had her, she was a surprise. That's a whole nother story, and I'm going to tell that story. She is amazing. I was going through menopause at age 35 when I got pregnant with her. I was not supposed to have children. My body physically was not supposed to be able to carry, conceive, or anything with children after my injuries from my abuser. So I somehow got pregnant. I hadn't had periods in months. They couldn't even find my ovaries. And this is a true story. So I'm borderline personality disorder Missy, and I have this child, and I leave my partner to raise my child on my own. We hadn't been getting along, and it was just, I was ready to move on. I didn't know I was pregnant when I was deciding to move on, but that's the way it worked. So I had my daughter, and I'm in fight or flight. I never properly grieved for my children. I couldn't bear it with my borderline. The emotions were just, it felt like they were killing me. So I just didn't. And so when I had Jill, I started not raising a child. I started keeping a human alive. I was checking her temperature, 10 times a day, asking her if her head hurt, if her tummy hurt, if she felt hot, all the things, all day long, every day. I caused my daughter to have panic disorder. She is diagnosed with panic disorder. But since I've gotten a hold of my BPD, she has gotten so much better and so much more relaxed. And that is why this is such an important message, because if you can overcome your BPD, it can be gone for the rest of your life. Or it can go dormant and come back, and you could recognize it and fix it, you know. But it can be gone for the rest of your life. And to see my child and my 25-year-old even recognize it, who doesn't even really believe in mental health, that's everything to me. That's everything to me. So then going back to Randon. Randon is a man that I have known since Colette was in kindergarten. She met him and his wife's daughter, and they were best friends. So they were just, you know, my daughter's friends' parents, and we would see him every so often. And 2.5 years ago, Colette called me and said that his wife had died, her best friend's mom. So I came out to, you know, give my condolences, give him a hug, talk to him, be there for him. And we started, at that time I was an advocate. I had a caseload. I was working with clients and in fight or flight and suffering from vicarious trauma, doing all of these problems, but I was outwardly giving everybody everything I had, just not myself, because I didn't know what the fuck I was. I didn't really exist. I was just here to serve is what I felt like, and I still feel that way, but on a different level. So we started doing therapy sessions together. You know, I did DBT with him, as a matter of fact, you know, helping him grieve, helping him get through some of the struggles that he went through after and before his wife passed away. And over the course of months, it turned into more. And it turned into this deep love for this human that I've known for, at that point, 25 years. Loved his wife so much. And they were just really good people. My daughter spent a lot of time out here. And I was like, okay, so this is not good. You know, I'm not meant to be in relationships. And I know this person, and I don't want to hurt this person, and I don't want to get crazy, you know, and I know I have borderline, and I don't know what the fuck to do with it. But something kept me here. I couldn't leave. There were so many times I called my friend Mercy, I called my best friend Elisa, and said, Brandon's kicking me out. What do? I need to find a place right now. Like, we need to leave right now. And I would take my daughter to my mom's for a few days, lock myself in the bathroom, and live off of this truth. Cry, you know, freak out, sit in the dark for days and nights at a time, when he never told me he was kicking me out. What it was is I saw him be quiet for a little bit longer than normal, or a tone, or anything, and immediately my BPD, front and center, he's going to reject me, he's going to kick me out. And that turned into, he's kicking me out, I need to leave. And my friends heard this so often, you know, so often, like, he's kicking you out so often, like, and then you're fine the next week, you know. And I had to realize and call my friend and say out loud, he never kicked me out. I feel crazy. What the fuck is going on? He never kicked me out, and I'm planning on moving and all these things. Well, there's my sabotage. There's my saving myself from him potentially kicking me out someday, which he wasn't doing. I was protecting myself like I used to. Fear of abandonment, that's right. Brainly, that, I'm sorry, I don't know how to say that name, but you're exactly right. My fear of abandonment kicked back in, even after isolating for six years. But this human, I couldn't leave. There was some connection. There was something different. And even when maybe I should have, because he was really struggling in grief, you know, maybe we went a little fast, whatever. It worked out the way it was supposed to. But I would make up these scenarios, make up these reasons, think he's kicking me out. I went as far as applying for places to live. all the things. And he never once kicked me out. And he would sit there and tell me, Miss, I never said that. Like, what is happening? And I didn't know. I didn't know the answer, And then talking with my friends about it, borderline came up, and I'm like, oh my God. I've known I have BPD for so long. I've never researched it. I've never done anything. I've always been told there's no medicine or no treatment for it other than therapy, which I've done. But it was like this big aha moment. Like, I am being borderline right now. And I have been this whole time. And it's going to end the same way as the other two really good relationships I had. And this one was different. It was better. There was a connection that I still can't explain today. I'm getting there, though. That's a story. I'm getting there. Such a deep connection. I couldn't even sabotage it, no matter how hard I wanted to. I couldn't do it. So I realized, if this is going to work, I have to get down to the bottom of this borderline. I have to fix this shit. I cannot live this way anymore. And so I started out by telling him, that was my first step. Brandon, I have borderline personality disorder. We Googled it. We looked up all the symptoms together. We talked about it. And, I could tell in his mind, like, okay, I understand a lot of crazy things now. I understand a lot of crazy things. And he had to make a decision, do you want to deal with this? Sorry, my thing is like falling. Do you want to deal with this? Because being with someone with borderline is very, very difficult. And he decided, yes, he does. And so it was then my job to figure it out. So I literally took my daughter to my mom's for, I don't know, a week. I don't know how long it was, because I truly put myself in the bathroom, turned the light off, locked the door, and stayed in there for that entire time. Turning the light on, staring in the mirror, studying every aspect of my face, turning the light back off and trying to picture my face, and I couldn't do it. And I couldn't fucking do it. And I just kept trying over and over again, getting frustrated, looking at pictures, turning them over, closing my eyes. I don't know what I look like. I just don't know what I look like. I couldn't do it. So then the next thing that my friends and I thought of was putting sticky notes on my mirror. So I wrote out things like, Brandon loves you. You're a good mom. Your name is Missy. Such general things. Like a 3-year-old needs to be taught. I had to start teaching myself. I had Post-it notes all over the house, like, you are good. Even though your whole life you thought you're bad, I was old enough at this point and experienced enough to know that even though I fucked up a lot and I had a lot of bad things done to me, my intentions always came from a good place. That is one thing I knew about myself, because I always found myself questioning, why are people so mean to me? Why are these horrible things always happening? Why am I sabotaging? Like, I mean well. Like, I know I mean well. I'm coming from a place of love. But it's coming out all skewed and all distorted and wrong. And so I'm doing these things. I'm staring in the mirror. I'm trying to memorize my face. And that's bothering me to a point of, like, I can hardly stand it. Like, why can't I picture myself? Am I not even real? Like, a complete meltdown, mental breakdown, identity crisis to the fullest. Because I couldn't take his identity and follow it at that time, because he was grieving and trying to overcome some of his own obstacles. we actually decided to live on the same property. He has a property with 3 houses, and he put me in one of the houses right next to his so that we could work on our grief and our own issues separately, but still be together and very close to each other. And so I could feel safe and all the things. So it's kind of a funny setup, but I feel very blessed for that setup. I'm in the process of moving in with him this month. And we're going to give it a good go because we have both healed so much. So I'm trying to memorize my face. I'm putting sticky notes all over the place. It's just not working. It's just not working. And I am able to communicate more with him, but I'm still, driving him crazy. Do you love me? Do you think I'm good? Are you going to leave me? Are you mad at me? All of these things all the time. And he's like, no, yes, like nothing changed. What's going on, babe? And so the sticky notes, trying to picture myself, all the things, it was brutal. It was really brutal because I came back with nothing really. But what happened was I was online and I found a book and I ordered it, and it had nothing to do with BPD. It just had to do with kind of like spiritual awakening, and that kind of thing was interesting to me at the time. And I read it in like a day or two, and I'll tell you the name of it and all the things afterwards. But it taught me. It was trying to teach how to how to meditate, and take a person with borderline and try to teach them to meditate is almost laughable. Like, quieting my mind is nothing I could ever imagine because my mind is racing 24/7. One thought, another thought, another, all over the place, all over the fucking place, which is why I was in fight or flight all the time. I just couldn't concentrate one thought ever. It was always a million at the same time. So this book, the way it was worded, the way it was written, I was like, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can do this. And I began trying to practice meditation and breathing in the way it taught and all the things. And it said, when you try to quiet your mind, you're going to have thoughts that come in. It's okay. And, just go back to trying to meditate and don't put too much thought into it. Well, I put way too much thought into it, and I'd have thoughts. Before I knew it, I was a half hour into thinking about, the color of nail polish I was going to paint my nails next, and completely forgot I was even meditating. And it went that way for quite a while. I am now at the point to where I can quiet my mind on intent, and I can do it without even intending to. This book is incredible. Really meditating is incredible. I got to the point to where I could quiet my mind, set up straight, align my chakras, and one day I could picture my face. And I know that probably doesn't sound like that big of a deal, but I could truly picture my face. And I'm like, oh my God, that's what I look like. Like, I can picture it. And I'd go look in the mirror, yep, I'm picturing my face. And I know that sounds crazy. It does. But when you don't know what you look like your entire fucking life, it was such a moment for me. I felt like I became a person that day, and then it got further. I could not only picture my face, I started feeling like my good intentions. I've had this book that I've been writing for 10 years. I have my own business. I'm an artist. I have my own clothing line. I have so many projects and so many things. None of them are complete because I'm all over the fucking place. I have never done a talk on here that wasn't just either reading straight from my blog or just on a whim. I feel like doing a live and I'm just going to talk about all my trauma. Planning this made me more nervous than I've ever been online because I'm doing this grounded and I'm doing it as Missy. And I know who that is. I'm Missy. I'm a mother. I'm a good person. I'm a survivor. I have green eyes. I know who I am. And I understand everything that has happened in my life now. Clarity came to me. And I have to tell you, I never would have imagined in a million years that I would be where I am. I don't have to imitate people. I don't have to pretend. I don't have to try to do what I think they want me to do. I can have boundaries. I can have standards. I can make decisions. Thank you, Michael. Michael and Mercy. I'm glad you're here, Mercy. And I can be. I am fucking Missy. And I can now get my purpose out there. Because now I can organize it. Because now my feet are on the ground. You know, I'm not just like, why can't I get my book published? Why am I, all the things. I have a website, it's half done, all the things. Because now I can organize it. Because now I can think. And now I know who I am. And now my spiritual purpose in life is so clearly drawn out for me. So really, the will to love this other human, to raise and love my child instead of just survive her and keep her alive because I was so afraid of losing another one. And I did anyways, but that's not really the point right now. I'm Missy. I'm Missy Lynn. And it doesn't take any thought for me to picture myself or something that happened. And it doesn't take any thought really anymore. Like, I get messages, I can meditate so well now. My mind can quiet so well now. It's just pure blackness, like I'm floating, like just in pure blackness, and it's quiet. And if I do it long enough, sometimes I don't have to do it long at all. But I get messages from my higher self. And that's why I started with BPD. And I know these are going to get better as I go. Because, like I said, I was really nervous to do something planned out. I've never thought out or planned out anything, really. It's always just spontaneous, compulsive, impulsive, and all the things. Thank you, Stacey. So I got this message meditating last week, start with BPD. Start with your borderline personality disorder, because I'm always on here trying to tell my whole story, which is so much. A lot of you, if you know my story, it's so much. And I'm always trying to tell all of it. And that's just not real. I can't do all of the things all at the same time because that's how my mind was working. All the thoughts are all at once. My clothing business, I need to do this on my website. I need to talk about this on TikTok. I need to do this, I need to do that. And I would do it like that. But now that I can still my mind, I can hear these messages from my higher self. And if you've watched any of my videos, the real recent ones, I got such a strong message before Mother's Day. And the message was just one word, just repeated over and over. And it was gratitude. And that's what got me through my first Mother's Day without Colette. Because when I would miss her and feel sad, I was grounded enough and Missy enough to know that it's okay that I'm grieving. It's not negative. I miss her. That's normal. She was my baby, But I heard gratitude the night before, over and over and over again. And I was just like, okay, gratitude. Like, I'm thankful. I'm really thankful. I really, truly am. Like, what? And then I realized on Mother's Day, every time I would think of her, I had to come back to gratitude. And that would bring me back to the moment. And it would still my heart.
you know? Okay, I miss Colette. I love you, Colette. I miss you so much. I am so thankful that I knew you. I'm so thankful you were my daughter. I'm so thankful for the things you taught me. And I hope you're living your best life somewhere. You know, I can do that now, and then I can move on. And I can let it go instead of let it take me completely down and back into fight or flight. I can grieve, and I can live, and I can be Missy, and I can be a mom, and I can have this amazing relationship with this amazing human that was willing to put up with this BPD for nearly 2 years before I got to the bottom of this. Meditation. Your inner self, going internally. Don't look to fix your things externally. Look inside. That is how you will heal yourself. That is how you will accomplish so many things in this life, is by looking inside. You have your answers. Nobody else does. And it also taught me to know myself and who I am. Meditation, on the level that I meditate, is the answer to literally everything in my life right now. And gratitude. Meditation and gratitude. I haven't felt a single bit of borderline since that first breakthrough meditation. Not a bit. Not once have I felt my partner wanted me out or was mad at me or anything that wasn't real. It's not there. It doesn't exist anymore. And I can't say for sure, you know, that it won't come back. But when I feel fight or flight coming on, I can manage it. I have the power in me to manage it. It's my cells, my body. I am in control of that. And somehow that book, the way it was written, it's just truth. And it just worked. And I no longer identify with BPD. I have gratitude. I know what I look like. I know who I am. I know I'm not a bad person. I know I'm not insane. I know it's okay to grieve. I know that's not negative. It's a natural human emotion. And I know it's okay to laugh and smile, even when you are grieving. This is my human experience. And I've never experienced it before. And I'm finally experiencing it. And it's fucking incredible. It's fucking incredible to be a human and experience being a human. Not someone else. Not someone else's personality and their traits and their, you know, all the things. My own. And I have so much gratitude. So much gratitude for that. I mean, I'm 45 years old. I've gone half my life not knowing what I was. And I know, like I said, that just sounds so, like, not a big deal. But it was a true lifelong crisis. You know, how do I know to say yes or no or make decisions if I don't even know what the fuck I am? Every experience that I do have now, everything I do every day that I live now, I feel like it's a new experience because I'm doing it as Missy, not as BPD. You know, I can control my emotions. I can't control my music, apparently. it's just a really beautiful thing. So I'm going to show you real quick. Probably backwards. Project 369, The Key to the Universe. This, I've got several books. This, daily rituals, and I can put them in, I can make a post and reference these books to you guys. They will change your life. If you have borderline personality especially, but to everybody, they will change your life. They're workbooks, like, so they gave me, what it did was it gave me this fixed point in time to answer questions, to think, you know, what are your intentions? What are you grateful for? Who are you? Where are you going? You know how hard it was for me to answer, who are you? It was really hard. And then it wasn't. It started flowing. I am this. I am that. I am this. I am that. I am Missy. I am my own creator. I am in control of my own life, my own person, of all the cells in my body. I am a soul in this body. My name is Missy, and this is what I look like. And there's so much more to this book than that, but that's what this book did for me. One of the many things that this book did for me. It kicked BPD's ass. It kicked its fucking ass. Obviously it brings me to tears that I can't even picture myself. And I can help my daughter out of panic. And she's doing so good. Bless her little heart and soul. She's seeing her mom grounded for the first time. And she's becoming secure. And she's following in my footsteps. That little girl's manifesting things at 7 years old. She's incredible. And she really, if you want to put it in a real perspective, that little miracle baby who I birthed when my body shouldn't have been able to, I have videos of her at 3 years old, maybe even N2, telling me things that I learned in this book a few months ago. That little girl is something special, and I'm going to be doing my next talk. What I was told during one of my meditations was to do my next talk on her. She remembered all of her past lives up until she was about 5, maybe 6. She started forgetting, and she even told me, "Mom, I'm forgetting. I don't want to forget. And help me remember, please." So we would talk about it, and I kept trying to help her remember, and then one day it was just gone. But when she did remember, that little girl told me the key to the universe. And I have it on video. The only reason I haven't gone back and found it is because I get really sad going back on my Facebook and seeing all the memories with Colette. And one day I will. But we were sitting in my living room before we moved out here. And she was 3 years old, and she was playing outside, and she ran in the house, and she came and sat on the couch by me, and she says, "Mom," and this is as a 3-year-old, you know, so 3-year-old language, I guess, or the way she could figure it out. She said, "Mom, there's bigger people than us." And I said, "What do you mean?" And she goes, "Well, you know how you read a book to me, and the people in the book are little?" And I was like, "Yeah, you know, I do. Yeah." She goes, "Well, we're bigger than them, right?" I said, "Yes, we are." And she goes, "Well, there's even littler people, and they read their books. And then there's even littler people, and they read their books. And there's bigger people reading our books." And I was just like, and so I asked her to repeat it, and I recorded this, and I didn't understand it. But isn't that the key to the universe? That we're all learning these lessons in our lifetimes. It's this big circle of eternity.
it's just incredible. And I'm getting off on a whole different subject, I'm sorry, but she started a little bit of self-awareness, I guess. She never met Poppy, my 1.5-year-old that my abuser killed. She was born way later. And one day in the kitchen, I'm doing the dishes, and she's sitting behind me on the floor playing Play-Doh. And she's quiet, I'm just doing the dishes, and she's like, Mommy, do you know why I'm here? And I was kind of like, why? Because at this point, she had been talking about things that I didn't understand. And she said, Poppy sent me. And my heart just stopped. Because, you know, in the midst of BPD, you know, I don't like emotions. I don't want to be sad. I don't want to think about Poppy. I don't want to think about those things. You know, but this is a little tiny child, and I don't want to overreact. So I was like, oh, really? She said, yeah, you know, when we were deciding where to go, what tummies to go into, Poppy told me to go into yours so you wouldn't be alone. And I called my mom, and I was like, so Jill just said this. I don't even know what to do. Like, I don't even know what to say to her, Mom. And she's like, just go with it. Just believe her. And so I started believing her. And so when I read this book, and it tells you, it might not be in this one, but we sign contracts before we're born. And we decide who we're going to interact with and who we're going to be around in this life. Thank you, Michael. I've done a lot of studying on this, and every time I learn something new, I'm like, holy shit, dude, my 2-year-old told me this. My 2-year-old told me this. She signed the contract to be put in my stomach. I was going through menopause. I was unable to carry children. And I had this little starseed. By some miracle. And had I not, I would not be alive. I would not be alive without that little girl. When Colette died, my 3rd child, I was fucking done. Like, are you kidding me? 3 children? I was fucking done. But to try to stop the generational trauma, I couldn't leave this little girl and my other daughter, Holly, alone. I couldn't have them have all this loss and grief and then watch their mom kill themselves. So not only was she born with all these messages that turned out to be true, she saved my life. And I can't wait to do a talk on her because I have never met another human like her in my life. She's fucking amazing. And she doesn't remember anymore, and she's devastated about it. So I try not to talk about it too much with her, you know, because she wants to. She wishes she could have held on to that. Because, you know, she's seen the videos and stuff before, and, you know, maybe someday she'll remember again. Maybe she is a memory cell. I don't know. But she's something special. Because how she even got in my stomach when I couldn't carry children, when I had no ovaries. You're so welcome. Thank you. Thank you for hearing my message tonight. I know it came out a little scrambled. You know, there's a lot of the old Missy still here. I'll always be what my partner calls his little pinball. You know, bing, 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 bing all over the place. But for me, personally, being grounded and finding out who I am and basically saying, fuck you, to my borderline, I can laugh and smile today, and I can have gratitude. I haven't even made Colette's headstone yet, you know? I can enjoy the rest of my human experience, and I'm so sad that I couldn't when she was here, but I have to let that go. Because that was her experience, was to be my daughter for 27 years. And it was my experience to be her mother for 27 years. And nothing I could have done would have changed that. So I'm so grateful that I knew her. Because she was fucking amazing. She was fucking amazing. And I always say I hope she's in the land of ooh.
from Adventure Time, because that was our show. I told her, I talked to her every night. I said, go hang out with Finn and Jake. Do whatever you want. If you're in the 8th dimension, the 9th dimension, go to the land of Ooh. It makes me feel good, because she wouldn't be happier anywhere else. So, meditation, truly learning how to quiet your mind, and I mean quiet your mind, and it is frustrating. I should have grabbed tissue. It is frustrating trying in the beginning, especially if you have a racing mind like I do. But like I said, one day my will to figure out who I am and to get rid of this horrific, trauma-filled life, my will was strong enough that I learned how to quiet my racing mind and listen to my higher self. And it's real. It's very, very real. And I'm looking forward to the rest of my life and what the plan is for me. I know my purpose. I know my spiritual purpose. I know my purpose for you guys, for me. And now I have the ability to plan it out, organize it, and get it done instead of talk about it for 10 years. Which is what I've been doing. Which is, it's okay. That's also part of my experience. But me personally, I'm so relieved. I'm so relieved to not be afraid anymore. And yeah, just to know that I'm okay and I'm me, and I don't have to just say yes and go along with other things. I can make my own choices, and I can help calm my little one when she's panicking. And I get to experience the rest of my life with my partner on this beautiful property out here and fulfill our dreams. I have that ability now because I exist. If that makes sense. I hope this makes sense. I just never really truly existed until I did. Until I could see myself. Borderline sucks. It fucking sucks. But I have to think, if I hadn't had it, I wouldn't be able to get my messages out. And I have such important messages to tell. About domestic violence, about sexual assault, about death, grief, loss. And so many other important things that so many humans experience. And I felt so alone during all those times. My purpose has always been to make sure nobody else feels alone. And I just couldn't get it out there. But I can now. I'm going to be able to finish my book and get it on the shelf, and I'm going to be able to keep giving you guys messages that I hear and I know that I need to say. We all need to be sharing our truth, you guys. We're in this place of awakening. We're in the Great Awakening. The moment in our history of the greatest awakening of consciousness. We're living in that right now. So how do you think we can help and learn? By sharing our stories. By looking into each other's eyes. And feeling other people's experiences. Because we only have our own, right? We only have our own point of view. But we all come from the same entity. Broken off little pieces. So that this entity, God, can see and experience life through every different human and every different animal and every different living creature, trees, plants. That entity gets to experience life through us. So we all have only our own points of view. So sharing our truths and our experiences help us to see other points of view and learn and grow. And learning and growing is my favorite thing to do. I love learning. I love hearing other people's stories. I love reading. I love, well, learning to meditate saved my life. You know, it's just, I've just never been able to grow. I've just been so stuck for so long. Back in the day, I would have been like, damn, you know, I'm 45. I wasted half my fucking life. No, I'm 45 and I'm fucking grateful. Because I can smile. Because when I'm not looking at the screen anymore, I still know what I look like. And I know who I am. So, I don't remember how much this was. It wasn't very much. But if you guys can get a hold of this book, I would highly, highly recommend it. And if you can't, try to picture dials. So here's a dial for all the noise and all the thoughts and all the racing thoughts and all the nonsense and the fears and everything in your life. Turn it down. Picture yourself physically turning it down to where everything quiets. Make sure you're in a safe place and you're alone and you know your child's okay and she's asleep, she's fine, and practice turning that dial down, and it's like the TV going off. Whoosh, you know, everything goes black. And yes, at the beginning, thoughts will come in, but if you do it enough and you want it enough and you're determined enough to grow and to awaken, to heal a mental disorder, and I'm not saying, I am not talking, let me, for the sake of needing to say this, I am not a doctor. If you need medical treatment or medicine for mental health, that's not my department. For me personally, this is what is curing me and helping me live and helping me to have the best experience that I can have in this world. Even with 3 children gone. I am blessed because for the first time in my life I am loved unconditionally by my partner. Amazing person. I have another opportunity to raise a little girl without all of the trauma, without abuse, drugs. I have the second half of my life to do everything intentionally as Missy, as me. My book is called Felonies and Poppy Seeds, and I have not finished it yet. I almost had it finished, and then Colette passed away, and I obviously, you know, I couldn't get out of bed for a while, and I also, even before she passed away, I just couldn't focus enough to get it finished. And now I'm thankful that I didn't, because Colette's part in it is significant, and she needs to be in it, and she needs to be honored. So now I have this list in my head, and I didn't make this list. I mean, maybe I did, my higher self did, but it came to me. I didn't write it out or anything, but it's the list of order of events of what I need to do to get my book published and to accomplish my purpose and my goals. And I've never had that. I've always just tried to get everything all done at once, and in that aspect, nothing got done. So I'm excited for the rest of my life. I'm excited to be Missy. I'm grateful to be Missy. I'm grateful to know myself. And fuck you, borderline. You're a piece of shit. It's a horrible, horrible thing to have. I cannot tell you how horrible it is. I mean, look at the smile on my face. Because I feel free from it. So, that's my message for tonight. I'm sure, I mean, we all know, all of you who have been here for a year or two with me know I could go on and on and on, but I'll do more on this. But I'm going to prepare my message around Jillian, my 7-year-old, and her amazing existence. She used to be a dad. She had kids. I've taken her places where she was like, whoa, this didn't used to be here. You know, like just total amazement and truth in her eyes. You know, she used to know things. And she's forgotten, like I said, but she's, you know, it's insane to, you know, she's 7, so 4 and 5 years later, read in books and watch on YouTube and everywhere these things that my daughter told me that I had no clue about when she was a toddler. I mean, that's a pretty intense experience. So that's what I would like to talk about next. And then I would like to talk about my Randon and how that all came to be. And I think once I get those 3 things, those 3 messages out, whether I have to do them a few times because I've left things out, you know, I'm learning how to be organized. And then I think I can literally sit down and get my book to the publisher. And that's where I'm headed. And it's going to be a book about all of the things. It's going to be a book about how long and severe I was abused by my abuser, how he killed 2 of my children, my childhood growing up, all of my failed relationships, my borderline, my daughter and her addiction, her coping from all of the generational trauma, her death, and then all that comes next. And I will let you guys will be the first to know when it's on the shelf. And it's going to be published, I think, we talked about Amazon and stuff, but I'm working with another publisher right now, and I'm not quite sure what angle we're going to go, but we're going to be publishing actual books for sure. That will be like on the shelf. And, you know, hopefully at that point I can just send you guys these books. You know, I want to just give them to you. I want my suffering just can't be in vain. You know, I think maybe that's how I look at it. Like, I signed up for this before I was born, you know, I signed up for this experience. And if we go that far as to sign up for our own next experience in each life, it needs to be shared. Yours too. Because I've never lived your life. You know, I've never been you. I don't know what it's like. And I would love to know. I would love to know everyone's experiences. Can you imagine what it would feel like to see every point of view? I mean, I guess that's eternity, maybe. I don't know. You know, that's the answer. It's not to experience all the points of views. It's to be all the points of views. And that's where I'm headed. Where we're all headed. Whether we want to or not. But I love you guys, and I appreciate you being here, and I hope that was clear enough. I know myself well enough to know I can be scattered, whether I'm, you know, in fight or flight or not. That's just part of who I am. And I've met myself finally. So I hope you all have a really good night, and don't forget to smile beautiful. And Michael and Mercy, thank you for being on here and helping, and I love you guys forever and always. And I couldn't see everybody who's on here, so anybody else, I love you all, and I hope you all have a really good night. And please feel free to ask any questions about BPD, because I feel like I kind of skipped over some of the things I wrote down. DBT
if you do suffer, look up DBT. There's self-taught DBT classes online. There's things you can download and just, have your own papers and books in front of you. I think everybody, even if you don't have borderline, should take DBT classes. They're amazing. Dialectical behavioral therapy. It is an amazing, amazing program. And I think it can help any human with any mental disorder, without a mental disorder, if that exists. Thank you, Michael and Mercy. I love you. These are two good, amazing people. Michael and Mercy. Beautiful souls. So yeah, if there was anything you were hoping to hear that I did not say because I tend to get carried away, please ask on any of my platforms. I'm Felonies and Poppy Seeds on YouTube. I'm Felonies and Poppy Seeds on here. I have a Felonies and Poppy Seeds on Facebook. And then my name is Missy Lynn. You can find me on Facebook under Missy Lynn. Is there anybody that do have any questions? Good night, Michael. I love you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Rob. If you guys ask any questions, I'm sorry. I couldn't really see the comments. Thank you, Veronica. Missy Lynn? You have a sister named Missy Lynn? That's crazy. And I'm going to follow. All right, you guys. So if you have any questions, if there was something you were hoping to hear that I did not touch on, please feel free. On any of my posts, just ask a question and I will see them and I will answer them truthfully and honestly and as Missy. I love you guys. Have a good night.